Chris here. You know, the question I often get asked is, how do I know if I'm not putting my heart and soul into work and life? And it's a great question because we have to differentiate between what's an emotion and what's truly your heart, what's truly your soul coming through into your life. The best way to do this is by using what I call red flags. There are only 4 red flags you have to worry about. And those red flags are called the 4 substitutes. So when our heart and soul goes out of life, we gravitate towards the 4 substitutes. And nature has provided us with those 4 substitutes so that we can continue to live. In other words, when the heart and soul, which is our essence, who we are, our humanity, goes out of our work or goes out of our relationship or goes out of our life, we automatically gravitate to the substitutes to keep us. It's a survival mechanism. So the 4 substitutes are these. The first one is food and substance. So if we start feeling super hungry, if we start having an appetite for excess alcohol, or we start looking for drugs and things of that nature to stimulate ourselves, we know really clearly that our heart and soul has gone out of life. When I'm talking about food, I'm not talking about normal appetite. When I'm talking about alcohol, I'm not talking about normal consumption. And when I'm talking about drugs, I'm not talking about pharmaceuticals. I'm talking about sugar excess. When we start to put on weight, we start to lose massive amounts of weight unnecessarily. When we start to become body obsessed, when we start to obsess with these things, then it's a real reflection that we've become distracted, or we're into a mode of substitution. The second one is greed. Greed is basically another word for control. Control is basically another word for fear, and fear can only be of the future. So when we gravitate towards greed, which means we start being motivated, highly motivated by more I want, we become depressed. Now, depression and greed are very rarely linked, but depression is caused by the appetite for having what we haven't got. So if we were satisfied with what we've got, we couldn't get depressed. There's no possible way. So the solution to depression is to find grace and goodness in the present moment, in this time we're in, so that we can stop wanting to have what we haven't got. Once we're satisfied with what we've got, we get out of depression. So greed and fear and all these are very, very tightly linked, but they're evidence. They're not bad things. What they are is evidence that we're out of our heart, out of our soul. And therefore we can micro adjust rather than macro adjust with a massive depression. We can say, today I feel a bit down, or I feel a bit, my appetite for more is becoming, and I'm not grateful for what I've got. So there's the second one. The third one is sex. Now, I'm just like everybody, I've got a healthy appetite for that topic, and I've got a healthy appetite for enjoying it with somebody I love. But the bottom line is this: when flirtation and sexuality starts to become the core premise of somebody's life, you know that they've lost their heart, they've lost their soul, and they're actually searching for it in all the wrong places. So flirtation and I suppose wanting to be attracted to people for the sake of boosting their ego is a fairly clear sign that something foundational, something core to that person has evacuated. And look, we all go through these phases. We all start looking for accolades and approval outside of our core. And they're just witnesses. They're just good signs from nature that it may be time to do a bit of a correction rather than to leave it go for too long before it becomes dangerous. The last one, and the one that's going to affect most people most in this conversation, is spirituality. Life is spiritual. We're born spiritual. We are spiritual beings trying to have a human existence, not the other way around. And so when we start hunting for spirituality, when we start going to all these classes and reading all the books and doing all this thing, looking to become spiritual, it's an absolute clear sign that we've lost our heart. We've lost our way, we've lost our soul, and we start searching for it outside of ourselves in books and tapes and Bibles and goodness knows what, trying to find what we've already got. And it's like hunting around the world looking for your car keys when they're in your pocket. And it becomes a hunt in a sense for pleasure seeking. And I think what we have to be really conscious of is there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody goes on the journey. As the old Zen story says, we go searching for the other shore, and when we find it, we walk up on the shore and we find our own footprints in the sand leading into the water. So ultimately, the journey of spirituality is to say there is no journey, we're right here already. But to know that is really hard, and that's a state of grace. So what I would say is this, is that our heart and our soul lives in this, it has no concept of time. So therefore, as soon as we start searching for things and saying I haven't got something, or as soon as we start a quest for either food and substances to bring ourselves up from an emotional low, or as soon as we start searching for betterment in the form of greed and appetites like that, as soon as those things become obsessive, as soon as sexuality becomes obsessive and flirtation, and as soon as we become in a sense obsessed with meditation, obsessed with yoga, obsessed with all these things that are about so-called spirituality, it's really materiality under the banner of spirituality. I think we're not wrong. We haven't made a mistake, but we may be looking in the wrong place for what we're really hunting for, and that is to get our heart back open and live from our soul. This is Chris. Have a great day. Bye for now.